Okay, guys, good morning. I'm going to do a check to see if, there we go. Again, no pattern. No pattern on the image flip. That's why I miss it so many times, because it went through so many times that you didn't have to correct it when you started it, and then it went through every time you started it, it was reversed. And I swear nothing's different. It takes too much effort to do it a different way. The mysteries of technology. Okay. We were doing T28s. That's what we were doing. We were highlighting these guys, and you can find that exactly where I left off on these. Okay, it looks like we highlighted this one. And this one. Oh, it's just this turret that needs to be done. That's where we pooped out. And everybody else left too. I looked at them. I was like, 0 viewers. I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's time for bed. Okay. Let's get this. I think I was doing it like this. Honestly, not sure anymore. It's not that critical. Just trying to get some of these details to pop out. So you can notice them at a distance. I don't care where I put this water thing, it's always in the way of the arm. I could put it over here, but then it's extremely likely to be knocked down. Cat Roger. Oh, well, welcome. What am I painting today? So, the T-34s I was working on from Skytrex are almost complete. I'll do the tufts and stuff this morning. We based those last night. And then I've got two 187th, yes, they're the wrong size. They're smaller than they should be. T28s and a T35 also. We're not working on it right now. And 187th from a company called Primo that I got probably around 1991, 1992. Never did anything with them. And I'm going to use them for wargaming. I mean, they're run a little small, but they're a big vehicle. They're still longer than the T-34 is. So it's not like it's a 15 millimeter model. It was either that or I was going to have to throw them away. Or give them away or something. I just didn't feel like doing that. So I don't have any T-28s or T-35s other than those. So it's not like they're going to look weird next to the other ones. Because there are no other ones. And they probably won't be any other ones. You know, unless they end up getting replaced. But I'm like, it might be fun. They're going to look good. You know, I wouldn't buy them now. Just like I wouldn't buy 1/76th. I prefer 1/72nd. You know, the figures tend to be heroic. They tend to be on a big side. So they look better with 1/72nd scale vehicles than 1/76th. But I have both, and I'm going to mix 72nd and 76 because I already have them. So, you know, at the end of the day, they're just wargaming miniatures. And, you know, it's not like I have unlimited funds. Even if I had unlimited funds, I feel bad having something and not doing anything with it. That's silly. Just like some people are like, oh, I'm just gonna use craft paint. Hey, you can do the hobby however the hell you want, you know? 1/72nd Napoleonic Streltsitz infantry for me. Really enjoying World War II. Excellent. Me too. Me too. I really am. I don't know when I'm gonna get back to Ancients. I'm certainly not in a hurry. I got a lot more people watching videos, probably twice as many, now that I'm doing World War II. I don't know. I don't do it to get an audience. I'm going to do what I do, whether or not people watch it. So the fact that people are watching it is kind of cool, you know. All right, let's put some scrapings, as I like to call it. And when I do the weathering, this stuff shows up. At some point, you got to be happy with what you have and not keep buying shit and not doing anything with it. This thing's been sitting around. Nothing was done with it for, you know, what, 35 years, 30 years, whatever. It's time to, as we like to say here in the States, shit or get off the pot. It's time to do something with it. And it's not like it's a bad casting or anything. Well, it's not a casting at all. It's plastic. But it's not like it's garbage or anything. It just happens to be too small. It does have a lot of details, and it's also missing a lot of details. When I was trying to figure out how some of these pieces went, I was having trouble finding out how to do some of them, but I got through it. Sometimes you got to use, you know, it may be that these aren't very accurate in some places, and mostly due to like the engine deck and things like that. But I got through it, or did them in such a way that I'm happy with the results. So never seen anybody paint this scale tanks in so much detail. I'm getting some great pointers when I do some. Oh, there's people that can outpaint me, but yeah, these are going to be the nicest looking Primo tanks ever. I'm not saying a whole lot. There's not that many of them out there, but there's some folks that can outpaint me, and they spend this kind of detail on them. You know, it's not like somebody's. Like I said, there's other people that I see their painting, and I'm like, oh man, I really like that, but they're not cutting any corners. It's not like, well, I got better results than me, but you know, a third the time. Nah, you gotta. It takes time. You know, it takes time. And I could take longer, but I mean, I have a mountain of tanks to do. And it's not like I have to get them done for a certain reason. I just want to get them done. Just some imperfections there. Recently looking at a 3D print of Diglocka. That fantasy German bell fancy getting in for conflict 47 rule. Said this thing has swastikas on it as well. I'm not familiar with anything. Die Glocke. I've heard of conflict 47. I want to say even GHQ makes Wehrmacht 46 or something like that. Like if the war had gone on, use them funky German weapons. I guess that's popular. I prefer my Germans in Panzer Gray, and they did enough damage. I don't need to extend the war a couple more years. But that is the thing about Nazis, is they make great enemies, As long as the period's right. I couldn't get into that. What's it called? Man in the High Castle. It just seemed really out of place being in the early 60s. They should have done it like a few years afterwards. Maybe they just didn't want to do that because it'd be like, a lot of things would be destroyed and shit like that. Yeah, they couldn't land on Britain in World War II. Why the hell would they be able to take over the U.S.? Come on, man. That's a logistics problem. And if there's something the Germans were really bad at, it was logistics. The World War II Germans were bad at a lot of, I'm reading a lot of stuff I'm learning new stuff that I either didn't have an interest in or the information's out on it that wasn't available before. But there's, everybody's like, loves the German tanks and this kind of stuff and the technology and stuff like that. There's a lot of things they were really bad at. And probably the thing they were the worst at, well, there's many things they were the worst at. I just mean as far as competency level, not as, being evil and shit like that. We're not talking about that. That kind of speaks for itself. But they were really bad at intelligence. Really bad at intelligence. There'd be all kinds of times where they get fooled by shit. The Russians freaking knew about stuff. And the Germans didn't. And it wasn't necessarily because it was passed on by the Brits with the Enigma and stuff like that. Although there were situations of that. They just... Too much infighting, Too much infighting and... They didn't necessarily promote the best people in posts. That was one. Logistics was another one. Spare parts, stuff like that. And they created a logistics nightmare because, they used a lot of captured equipment and stuff like that. So, Nazi's super weapon for a fantasy game, Die Glocke. The bell was meant to be shaped like one. They never had radar, and we had. The Germans never had radar? I think they did. They just didn't have it to the extent that didn't have it to the extent that the British used it. I'm a big naval war gamer. I used to, and the first ship that had radar was actually, if I remember correctly, at least in that game, was the Graf Spee. Now it wasn't. It was for help and control and fire control. The CCAT system, I think is what it was called, at least in that game, but they didn't develop it past, other versions. Yeah, thank goodness the Brits had radar. Everybody has their favorite things that they like to play. If you're talking World War II, I love playing British Navy. Love it. My favorite. The German ships were wicked cool, but I like playing the British ships. Just, I don't know, something about them. Kind of underdog. Not underdog number-wise, but, just some of them weren't, were older designs. That's the problem, is when you win a war, you have to decide, are we going to keep this stuff, or are we going to kind of convert it and keep going? And a lot of this stuff was converted. I love the World War II Royal Navy stuff. That's why I'm so upset. Hey, let's make a movie about a North Atlantic convoy. Yeah, we'll make it American destroyer. What kind of a moron did that? Holly Weird. It should have been a Commonwealth destroyer and Western approaches camouflage. End of story. There's no debate. Ooh, this thing's all like corroded and stuff. Like white corrosion. I don't know jack diddly shit about Napoleonics. Well, compared to somebody on the street, compared to a wargamer that wargames Napoleonics, I don't know anything. But you know, that just comes with playing. It's just not my period. Oh, nice barrel. Nice size. That adds just a little touch. Just a little touch. Let's do the other one now. I didn't do it on the T-34s because they were very, very delicate and a little undersized barrels. Ian Wright, welcome. I know it's overseas hour at this time. All you overseas folks show up. Excellent. Because nobody over here is stupid enough to wake up at the time that I wake up at. Overseas hour. The land of toys waketh. That's it, been awake. Oh, in Spain too. Buenos dias. I'm running out. I've got to get some X-Acto blades. And I don't want to Amazon them. Because I know I'm going to get fake ones that are going to break off and put my eye out. I've gotten fake razor blades before that came in exact packaging. I know they're gonna make these fake. You know, I just want to get them at a cheaper rate, and not have to go to 3 stores to find them. Naps are just what I'm painting at the moment. I cover most eras and conflicts. Not battleship though. I don't know a great deal about them. You've been up for 4.5 hours. 5.5 hours, yeah. So you wake up when I wake up, Ian. Perfect. That's when you need to wake up. Or pretty close, anyhow. Let's get this thing in the center. Everybody has their periods that... Naval was just the first thing I got into, and it was because of my dad. He had this book on his table. And I just got into it and started reading about him in middle school. And that's that. Before I was even in my teens. And then I found out, oh, you mean I can war game the German surface raiders and all that stuff? Oh, cool. Okay, let's put all these dangerous implements of destruction out of the way. Yeah, we're gonna have to stop by the hardware store. Not the hardware store. I went the other day and they didn't have any. I gotta go to a hobby shop and pay more than I should for them. Okay, I think we've got the basic. This is the one that has 2. I think we have the basic gist of these. This thing's going to have a red star on the top, on the roof. I should just go ahead and paint that because there's no debating. It's got one on there. It's cast into the turret, and I just feel like it's appropriate that it needs to be red. Although it's kind of a fat star, almost like it's starting to look almost like a Star of David type shape to it. But cute little thing up there. Let's go ahead and paint that. Let's go ahead and paint that red. Give it a little bit of color. You started with naval war games because I discovered C.S. Forester's Hornblower novels 2 weeks before I discovered wargaming. So you started with sailing ship stuff? I don't know anything about sailing ship stuff. I played a sailing ship game other than Wooden Ships and Iron Men, which I played a few times, and I liked that one, but other sailing games I played, I absolutely hated. And the main thing is I'm a ship nut. Like I can look at a silhouette of the ship and go, oh, that's a county class cruiser, or whatever, So as long as it's World War I, World War II, even pre-dreadnoughts. The only thing I don't like about pre-dreadnoughts is it seems like if you were going to paint them all realistically, most of them are going to be painted the same, which takes away their individuality as far as I'm concerned. So I'd have to find a way to paint them. But I used to have like 500, 2400 scale ships. They weren't all painted because, I'd start something and not finish it, but 200 of them were. And I got rid of them in the early 2000s because I hadn't played in 10 years. And I wasn't happy with how they looked. That's the important thing. My painting style had changed quite a bit from what I was doing before. Ooh, is this the holy one? We best not mess with this one. This one's going by itself. This is one that'll be a holy one after we chop the end off a little bit. But the sailing ship games, they look all the same to me. I mean, obviously they don't look the same if it's Armada period and Napoleonic period, but they just look too similar. And again, it might be a draw that if you're from the UK, and that's when the UK was, I don't know if it was dominant. I'd say the UK was more dominant in World War I than it was in the Napoleonic period. Because Napoleonic period, they still had a tiny army. It might have had a big navy, but it still had a tiny army. He played Wooden Ships and Iron Men to death in the late 70s. It's a pretty good game. You ask if you buy the tanks in a physical store or by mail. Yeah, so these I mail ordered from the hobby store when I worked at it a long time ago, it's like 91 or 92. And these other ones, the T-34, is this whole mess. These I ended up getting at an estate sale. So that's why I have so many of them. An estate sale that I wasn't, I could use them and they didn't want them. So it was like a double whammy. But physical stores are over with. They just don't exist anymore here in the United States. Or at least in this part of the United States. They just don't exist. You got to mail order everything. Which, I'd rather buy them in a physical store. But when you buy things in a physical store, you end up buying things that they have there, not necessarily what you need to get next. So, I got something coming from the UK, if it ever gets here. They got delayed a couple days. Well, I don't know how many days. It was supposed to arrive day before yesterday. And luckily, it's not something that I need, but it is something it's nothing I need urgently, but it's something that I need to finish a project. And, man, that mail across the pond is really screwed up. But there are no more physical stores I can go to and get things. So, 1347 Type 1 and 492 Type 2 Tigers. That's all that were built. Couldn't believe it when I read this researching them. You thought they made more? Yeah. Marcus, good morning. That's one of the problems that the Germans had is they just couldn't get the production down. They just couldn't. They couldn't produce a ton of stuff. 492, there's a lot of vehicles that they make a lot of models of that they made a lot less than 492 of them that you see everywhere. Pumas, the 8-wheel armored car, they only made 111 of them. They made 4 times more King Tigers than them. You know, not to talk about all of the funny versions of they had, but I was reading something recently and it said there were many downfalls to German production, but one of them was that they tried to make, it seemed like they tried to make improvements every chance they got, which meant that, you know, they had all kinds of different versions of different stuff. And that's just a logistics nightmare to fix it. So, more tanks, the better. Painting like a production line to get them up front. Yeah, there was only, what did you say, 400 and who? 439 or whatever. Yeah, it's not very many of them. They had over 5,000 Panthers. If I remember correctly. Okay, so there's a little red star. Let's lighten this thing up a little bit. Where is, here, there we go. I sound like a cereal from the 70s. Well, I am from the 70s. I am from the 1970s. I don't remember the 1970s well. That's a good thing because people wore some messed up stuff back then. UK mail has strangled this country. You have to buy off UK home suppliers and they can charge what they want because anything brought from abroad has import tax. Yeah. I've mentioned this before. I'm sure it's there, same as here. It just seems like the consumer has been getting bent the last 5 years. I don't buy well, it's good for me because I'm the supplier. Everyone is a consumer. Everyone is a consumer. Companies that were independent end up combining, and less competition is bad for business, bad for the consumer. Less options. That's not political. That's a fact. You know? UK mail. Imagine if there was 2 mail services. It's got to work better. Monopolies are bad. We got a yellow handy. I bet this yellow that was really watery, there's still some life left to it. We don't need very much. Yeah, I just heard recently, this last week, or maybe it was the week before, Zyston was bought out by Plastic Soldier Company. I got nothing bad to say about Plastic Soldier Company, except that they can't get their product here to this out. You know, everybody's out of their stuff all the time. It's like they have a limited run of plastic kits, and maybe it's a funding issue where maybe they have to front all the stuff, and you don't have the funding to do it. But regardless, if that's the case, if you have trouble getting your product out with the lines you already have, buying more miniatures lines isn't going to help that, I would think. All right, we're going to leave that as is, and maybe we can tinker with it after we've weathered over it a little bit. Of course, the water's in the way. Well, that's where it needs to be, so I don't knock it down accidentally. I don't need another intermission to clean up stuff. Okay. Time to paint tracks and stuff. Tracks and things. Actually, I should probably decide how I'm going to paint these things on the turret numbering before I do that. Because if I paint the tracks, I'm going to end up handling that while I'm doing the other decals and things. Let's see what we got here. I think we've saved some pictures. I do. I have a Panther tank that I did, but it was a while ago. It looks okay. It doesn't look up to par to this. It looks okay. But the problem I have with some of the larger vehicles is that the bases that I use are shims, and this is a hard stop on the length. They're all this length, and they won't fit. They won't fit on these shims. So I haven't figured out what I'm going to do for the larger vehicles. So stuff like a Tiger 1. I got a Tiger 1. I've got the Panther I painted, which I'm going to end up redoing, and I think 2 other Panthers. I got a Britannia one, and I got an old Airfix one that I got off the estate sale, which isn't very good, but we're gonna fix her up. She'll be fine. I want to say I have one more, and a JS2, a JSU 122. Those larger vehicles, I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the basing. I'm going to do some kind of a shimmer like that. I just need to figure out what. So I'm avoiding them. Panther Alsh D. The Kursk ones. The Kursk ones. Okay, let's look at the pictures that I saved for a moment, and then once I pick one, we'll put it up on the screen here so we can follow along. There aren't very many examples of, this is the later turret, the conical turret. There aren't very many examples of it, and I want something that has a little bit of color, not just those dotted lines, which that'd be a pain in the ass to do. What do we got here? I have one 1944. Yeah, we're not doing that one. I'd rather not come up with my own paint schemes if I don't have to, you know. It's kind of cool, I think, to take something and then try your best to paint it. Then just come up with something from scratch. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I like this one, but this is for the other model tank. Let's go ahead and save image. Save that. All right, let me visit this site and see if there's other stuff there. Oh, of course, it's Pinterest. There's some camouflage ones. I really don't want to get into that. The problem with camouflage tanks is they tend to sometimes have like a lack of markings on them. So in one aspect, well, it depends on the nationality, but in these, the Soviet ones seem to have a lack of details on them. Oh, there's a conical one. It just has a 7 in a box. That's a little lackluster. T-28 Soviet tank. I looked at the set of decals too that Colibri makes, and they are uninspiring to the max. Okay, so this one's not bad. This is kind of a unique thing. We're going to go ahead and save this image as well. This may end up being the one we end up using. It's got no numbers on it. We may have to put our own numbers on it, but it does have a little red star in a unique position. It's all the way down here. A lot of them have them here in this center section, but this one happens to be down here. So we've got star decals. We're not going to hand paint those. That's sadistic. Oh, I like this one. Again, it's for the other model tank. Okay. All right, we got that one. That one is decided. This particular vehicle is decided. Now we just need to find a conical one that we like. Just inspiration. I'm just going to make my own number on it. F it. Let's go back to our screen here, and I'll show you what I got. Acá el lunes y martes es fiesta, carnival. Greatest Tank Battle Series. It was great to see how those German tanks operated and hearing the crews describe action. Oh, the horror of being incinerated in a metal box. Yeah. Yeah, the German tanks, by and large, had really good combat capabilities for their crews. Not all tanks, but the Panzer IIIs, IVs, and so forth, they were operated well. Same thing with the Shermans. You know, people like to rag on the Sherman, and the Sherman was really good at a lot of things, especially when it came out. All right, let's bring those. Let's bring those decals up, and then we're going to get the gloss coat and where the decals are going to end up being. The only decals I'm doing are the red stars. We got enough of those. They're both going to have red stars on the side. We're going to put them down here at the bottom on this one and up here at the top on this one. So let's bring those things up here. We're going to go, let's see what image is here, because we're going to replace this one. There we go. That's the last one we were painting. Let's go ahead and open source properties. Let's do a browse. Because those little dashed lines are a pain in the ass to do, and they also seem to be pre-war when they came out. Actually, we're going to go ahead and do the conical one first. I mean the non-conical one first. Let's go ahead and do a done, and I can show you the picture of what we're looking at. So this one that has the red star on it, we're going to go ahead and put a white stripe over it as well through the middle. That's pretty cool. I like that. And we're going to stylize that number 4 a little bit more. We're not going to leave it open like that. Just looks like some guy just took a paint program and put a 4 on it. Doesn't seem like it's appropriate in period. So let's go ahead and do the white stripe on the roof, and then we'll paint the number 4 here. And I guess we won't put a red star on this one. This one already has one. We'll put red stars on the other one. Okay, so let's get this down in the corner. Actually, let's make it smaller. And let's see if we can put it down here somewhere that's not that obtrusive. Okay, let's try that. Okay, you know how I like to paint white stripes on things. It just adds a little something. Let's flip this thing around. Whoa. We still have any black that's alive here? I bet I do. Let's get this out of the way. I'm encroaching on my workspace. I'm extremely right-hand dominant. So there's always stuff that appears here in my way, so to speak. Yeah, there's enough life in this black that's over here to. So we're just gonna sketch where this is gonna go. I guess we could do the top view again, couldn't we? You guys liked that last week. Let's go to my camera and we'll zoom in. And it looks like it darkened it a lot, so let's go ahead and change that. Brightness, contrast, exposure level. That's maybe a little bit more realistic. Let's drop this a little bit. Just trying to get close to the same color I see. Okay. Now we can follow along. All right, so the center of the line goes right through between the two hatches. We'll fix you if I have the stuff. I know what I'm looking for. It's the stickum stuff. And I don't have to do this, but I can't find it. It's not that important. I got some of that stuff you stick on the wall just to kind of hold it in place. Let's see if I can get away with doing this. I'm not going to spend half an hour looking for it. It's here somewhere. I rarely use it. And I just picked this whole area up yesterday and I didn't come across it, so it's buried deep somewhere. All right, how wide is this thing going to be? Quarter of this it's going to take up. Well, it's got a different kind of hatch there. It's going to be about that wide. It probably needs to go about here. About there. All right, let's add more paint. Need to move this closer to. Not sure if this is the correct brush. It might be, which means it's already showing signs of misbehaving. She's my trick I learned the other day. It's got a little bit of paint that's just stuck on the end. And that's using hand sanitizer. Takes acrylic paint off. If you watched that show, my show last night, you'll find out you can strip acrylic paint with hand sanitizer and not damage the plastic. I found that out the other day. So here's the just rudimentary. I was able just to run a brush over it and it took this off. It doesn't take the bottom layer off because it was a spray paint Africa mustard, I think is what it was called. But you can clean paint brushes. You can clean old paint from paint brushes using hand sanitizer. I found that out on my own. Maybe there's an article about it, but I didn't know about it. All right, let's continue. Good, now we got the tip operating better how it should. was catching on like a little bit of paint that was on the end. I'm not there to do that yet. All right, let me step away from it and see if the basic line is where it needs to be. I think it needs to be go a little bit more to the left, a tiny little bit. Let's clean that up and then we'll start lightening it up. So a little bit more to the left, especially like here. We need to assault this from the other side. And here I can see that this needs to be a little more that way. That looks pretty good. That's where it needs to be. Let's brighten this thing up. took this off, it started rocking. So I guess it did make a difference. Need to tackle this from the other side. It's easier to get to. And I want it to show brush strokes like it was hand painted, because it probably was. Hand painted by a communist with a shitty brush. And this is actually the part of painting I enjoy. Painting things arbitrarily, I feel like anybody could do that. This is just being patient, knowing you're not going to get it on the first. You have to go back and forth and build it up. Okay, let's comparison. The color. I'm going to leave it as is. I think we're good here. There's no reason to go brighter than that. Okay? Now, we'd put a number 4 in a box. I don't really care for the box being off to one side and not being in the center. Let's do a couple things. Let's go here and see if we can't change the numeral to something a little bit more Russian looking. It is just one numeral. Let's see here. Yeah, they have some interesting paint schemes for these things, but they're all like pre-war. Really, really pre-war. Oh, here's the same drawing of it. And it doesn't have that stupid 4. So it looks like somebody added it. Hey, cheater. I told you it looked like something that was out of context. All right, so let's go to, here's a 4. Here's a 4 and a KV. All right, that's the number 4 that we're going to use. Oh, and there's another 4. Man, it's so hard to find an affordable KV. There was a set that was made by that Russian company and Pegasus. And they came with a KV1 and a KV2 in the same box. It was 2 tanks in the pack, and you could make them either one. And we're going to paint the box first. You could make it either one of the. You could make them both KV2s or both KV1s, and it gave you turrets for each. So you could paint literally 2 bodies and 4 turrets, and then switch them out as you needed to. But those they're out of production. They can't be found. I'm not sure what the deal is, but they're unavailable. So we're going to put a square box around it first, and hopefully we do okay. And then we're going to put a 4 on there. And I'm going to make my own 4. But let me see if there's a consistency as far as them having tails. That one does not have a tail. That one does not have a tail either. That may just be a thing that Soviet 4s do not have any length to them. Yeah, I'm not going to put a tail on it. Okay. Again, I can do whatever I want, but I'd like for it to be inspired by real stuff. Just a simple 4 on there. Let's do a box on the other side. This one's a little bigger. It's not that big of a deal if if you look at these pictures, they're all kind of haphazardly put together. So it's okay for them to look kind of messy because they kind of were. They might have changed the number of the unit or something like that at the, oh, I guess it would help if you're seeing what I'm doing, if that's important. Just having one, like a gray color underneath the white, gives it some depth. I'm going to take the opportunity to clean these lines up a little bit and go over with green. I'm not painting in the most comfortable position. Now, let's rinse this off. Let's get the core green color, which is over here. Let's mix a tiny little bit of black into it. I need more substance than that. There we go. Now let's add some green to it. That's all we're going to do. That's all we're going to do on it for decals, for numbering. Obviously, it's going to be weathered, so forth. So we're going to come back and do weathering on it in a moment, because I did not do what I should have done with this one, which is to go ahead and put the glossing for the decal. Let's find the other drawing that we're going to replace this one with. Let's see, is this one? No. Is it this one? It is. Okay, so let's modify this one. Let's go to properties and do a browse for the one with the conical turret. The inspiration for the one with the conical turret, I should say. Just go to the bottom and just click our way to the top. Okay, this is the one with the conical turret. It's got the red star on the front. Ooh, is that a red star all the way on the bottom of the... Let go. It is right here at the bottom of the front plate. That's interesting. All right, we'll put one there. I'm not going to do one on the roof. The other one has one on the roof anyways, but I will put one down here at the at that. So we're going to gloss coat a little bit there. We're going to gloss coat a little bit there, and let that dry. We'll go back to this one and come back to it. All right. So let's just let's move this on. Let's make it smaller. Geez, don't make it disappear off the screen. Okay. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the gloss coat on this so that can dry. It doesn't take very much to dry, especially if you don't add a whole lot to it. This stuff's working pretty well. Pledge Floor Care. It's gonna work great until I spill this huge thing. Then we got a problem on our hands. A problem of unusual size. Five silent people. Welcome. I'm actually going to go ahead and put some gloss coat there, because I may not like how it looks down there and decide that I want to put the decal in the traditional place there, and then one on the bottom glacis plate. Okay. Yeah, now these vehicles tend to, T28 seem to have a lack of stuff on them. The only thing I can consistently has less things on them than them, or seem like early German half tracks have like a lack of markings on them. They're like you got the cross on there. That's about it. I don't know that I've ever seen any. Very often, any German half tracks in gray with like a number on them. So I may have to experiment with that and try my own hand at it, just to give it some flavor here. Usually paint model while watching, listen to you. You don't need to apologize. Do whatever you want with it. Just I'm just wondering if, I think last night I had like 8 people on here and everybody was being silent, so that's okay. You don't need to step up. Might be a lot of Chi-Coms watching or whatever. Okay, so we got a little machine gun that we need to paint black. And another one here. Another one here. Another one here. And we can go ahead and pull these off of here. And pull this one also. pull this one. Okay. Okay, as long as you're hanging out here, we have a pickaxe. And a shovel. Extremely flat shovel. You get a couple headlights there. That's pretty much it. I'll wait to do the headlights last. I hate to do all the work on them and then it gets messed up. We've got some rusty parts. Looks like this muffler is like inside this green, inside a green burrito, like a wrap. I looked at pictures, looking at pictures of it earlier, and that looks like what the situation is. It's stuck inside here. You can see the tip there. It's stuck inside this green thing. You know it's got to rattle like crazy. So you're painting a lot of nappies there, Cat Roger. You is there a bad guy in the Napoleonic Wars? Are the French the bad guys because they're aggressive? I don't know. I don't think the French are any worse than, say, Alexander was. It's kind of the same thing. Seems like it to me. Yeah, he's just a warmonger, so I guess that makes him bad, but you know, it's not like he's gonna murder people. Actually, Alexander's probably worse. You consider Boney a bad guy? I think that's the only muffler part in there. It's whoa, what the whoa, stop. What am I thinking? Way too bright. There we go. Jeez. There's not much of that on there. I don't think there's any rubber on these road wheels. I'm not gonna waste my time. First of all, there's a million of them. Second of all, I'm gonna end up dusting over it, and I don't feel like looking it up. So we're gonna let this one ride with. Here it is. This is the one that we use. Okay, let's get SS Camo Black here. That's what we use as the base for the tracks, and been pretty happy with it. You like painting large, useless European allied armies, read a lot on Boney, listened to a couple of audios, and I think he was a genius and a warmonger. Okay. Yeah, I don't think he was a bad guy. I mean, you know, he wasn't any worse than anybody else. But yeah, he started wars. I mean, I guess that makes him bad, but... None of us are sitting around and making pacifist armies anyway. It's not like we're going to make an army of Buddhist monks that self-immolate themselves in the middle, you know. I know Mitch is a big fan of him. I don't really know anything about him other than kind of really obvious stuff from, because, you know, all the military history that I really know a lot about has come from wargaming or an interest in wargaming a certain period. So you can't help but find things out. I don't mind playing Napoleonic games. I don't mind playing DBN. I don't mind playing Command and Colors Napoleonics. I played Napoleon's Battles a few times. That one doesn't rub me that great. I used to have it, actually. I guess I would like Napoleonics more if there was more differences between the armies. And yeah, I mean, they're different, but I mean, just, you know, just a lot of folks just kind of wear the same kind of stuff, just in different facings and stuff like that. I prefer a little bit more distinction in that. What's the other one? Napoleon in Europe? Yeah, the game where everybody found out I'm really good at rolling D10s. Apparently, at least those couple times I played. It was Austrians über alles. Warfare 17th, 18th century seemed to be the way of getting stuff sorted. Great leaders used men as chess pieces just to achieve what they wanted. Yep. Have you ever played that rule set Maurice? I played it a couple times and I thought it was kind of fun, although definitely not a user-friendly game. If you learn how to play it and then you stop playing it for like 6 months, you feel like you got to relearn stuff, because there's, you know, there's card mechanisms in it, and it's just a matter of, you know, basic tactics are kind of drilled in our head as war gamers. We almost can do them and don't even have to think about it. But when it involves something that's game related, you know, you got to know when to do the right thing at the right time and do it in the right phase, or, you know, to optimize that kind of stuff. General d'Armée platform, okay? Yeah, that one wasn't around back in the mid '90s when I did have some Napoleonic troops. I never finished a unit, but I had some like 1813 Prussians to paint. I got 2 packs of them, so enough to do a couple units. I want to say they were battle honors, and then like a pack of artillery. I never did anything with them. I think I primed them. They're primed in white. That tells you how long ago it was for me to prime something in white. That's crazy. that's a different world for me. Couple solo games that are made, but mainly enjoy just painting units for the heck of it. Have LaSalle rules only. You know, it makes sense that Napoleonic rules would have French names. There's there's one that's initialed. It's DSR or something like that, ESR or something. They always seem to be pushing that one at Historicon. I think one of the vendors makes that one. I just don't know enough about the period that if I was going to do Napoleonics, I don't know what scale of a game I'd want to do. Like if I'm doing World War II, it's obvious I don't want to do operational. I've done it before, and it doesn't scratch the itch. I want to do skirmish. I want to get into the thing of a T-28's turret rotation speed being a factor. That's just what I want to simulate. I don't know if I did Napoleonics what I'd want to simulate. I think I'm perfectly happy playing something like DBN. I don't feel like it needs to have a ton of detail for me to enjoy it. Whereas, I wouldn't want to play something that has a lack of detail when it comes to the Second World War. The problem I have with solo games is I just have a total lack of motivation of trying to learn the rules on my own. And I don't know whether it's I don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of, or I'd just rather do this. But this is an artistic pursuit, so painting the miniatures is more important than playing the game, because I can get my World War II itch playing video games if I need to. This flow aid is incredibly useful as like re-wetting drops for your brush to keep from missing spots, and you can put the paint up the wheels and not go over them, and it's really helpful. Even though you're not supposed to use it like this, you're supposed to mix it 1 part to 20. Well, I ain't got time for that. Just adding a little bit as we go seems to work pretty well for me. It has in the past. And it lasts forever. I remember back in the day, we were really pushing that game Shaco. I think that's an Artie Conliffe game, but I never played it. Let's get the bottom of the tracks, at least some of them, some of it. Yeah, see, that didn't take long. These are the first vehicles I primed with airbrush. Still with the same primer that I normally use. And other than the, we'll paint the handles after we're done the dry brushing. Other than the weathering, this thing's done. Let's check on these wet spots we created. It should be dry enough. Let's put this stuff away. Everything encroaches over here. Everything finds its way over to this part of the world. It's invariably it's what happens. I want to drop some water in here and I'll be right back. And we'll do some decaling. Solo is crap as an adult. I had no motivation, no gamers or clubs in my area, but that's why I'm primarily a painter. But I still group stuff to rule sets. I totally understand. I feel exactly the same way. Yeah, you got to do it to some kind of a rule set, but otherwise you're really just arbitrarily doing it. I totally agree. I will be right back in a moment. Distance you have to travel for a gaming club just isn't worth it. Well, it's probably small by United States distances, but I get it, you know. Like, I don't want to set up one of these games at Mitch's house. They can come here whenever I get around to it. I'm not packing all this stuff, and I'm certainly not going to play on a weeknight. I'm doing all the work. They got to accommodate me. If not, we'll just solo it. I'm not worried about it. All right. Let's look at what we got here in the decal category. Let's get this the hell out of the way. We're looking for red stars. We're going to have to put a numeral on here just to give it something. So we have a numeral here on this spot, on this tank. So I think I'm going to put the red star on this one, in that spot, just to mix them up, make them look a little different. And it's going to be this red star. Should be big enough to do that. So let's cut two of those out and just use these two. I'm not going to use any of these numerals. I'll paint my own. Micro scale decals. These are actually pretty good. They're pretty thin. Thin like. I can solo, but when you're doing it for yourself, there's no pressure and your ideas change all the time. I've rebased several times, whole brigades. Well, that's a bit sadistic, but you know, Yeah. Yeah, you do what you want, you know. You're doing all the heavy lifting. Should be whatever you want it to be. Microset. Ah, the smell of vinegar. Yeah, the main thing is when it comes to soloing, I want to play the set of rules I want to play. I like these set of rules. They move slow. They're ultra detail. I don't care. That's what I want to play. I'm not motivated to spend this amount of effort on a game that is very vague. You know, like Flames of War doesn't deserve. One of the people that I follow is an excellent painter, and he just posted some things recently about a force he's doing for Flames of War. Flames of War doesn't deserve his quality of painting. It just doesn't. It's not detailed enough for the kind of stuff that because he's doing stuff even more than what I'm doing. So I can appreciate all that kind of stuff, but the rules need to appreciate it as well, not some vague, you know. So I never understood like people that play Warhammer. You know, there's some Warhammer painters out there that are incredible. The rules are extremely vague and unimpressive, so I'm not going through all that effort for those rules. Yeah, they're not worthy of the amount of work that many painters give those rules. So what we're going to do is we'll let this dry. We're going to do something on the turret, something. And then we'll go back and we'll dry brush the one that's complete. Which honestly, painting these tracks is super fast. I'm like, it's a pain in the ass. Not when you're painting, oh, look at that. I missed the front of the track on this side. Well, I'll be a horse's patoot. Now, what I've actually found is, I don't even try to press them. Just try to take some of the moisture off by reverse capillary action. Maybe I will try pressing it. Hey, I didn't get burnt that time. I don't really use the microsol. It's supposed to soften the decal and almost make it disappear. It said use microsol, don't move the decal, because then it softens it a lot. I honestly don't use it. I have it. Yeah, so they both have red stars, I just have them in a different place. Okay. Numerals. You know, you can either make them like they're part of the same unit and it's boring, or mix them up a little bit. So let's see if I can tank. Let's see here. Man, not very many examples of that. All right, let's put T-28 Russian tank. Oh, it's already a search for Soviet tank. Let's go with that. Let's see any of them that have numerals. Here's another one that has a little 7 in that box. This one's a 230. Here's one, it's a command one. It's a command one, but that's fine. What's it got on it? 261. We'll attempt to paint 261 on there. I don't have to do 3 decals, so 26 would probably be okay. Soviets have these fancy looking twos, so that'll give it kind of a... Yeah, we'll paint 261 on it. F it. We're going to put it in a different location than it normally is. So let's, we're going to ad-lib this one a little bit. Okay. Back to this. And if I don't like how this turns out, I just redo it. It's not that big of a deal. I'd like to do it the first time correctly. I feel like this brush has changed. It's thicker than it used to be. Yeah, let's look for other candidates, because we're going to do something that's kind of... They all wear out eventually. One of these has a bunch of new brushes in it. It's not this one. Let's go to the other one. A bunch of them that I haven't even used. Of course, this one may actually be the one that's the special one. And that might be what the issue is. Let's go to that one. No. Split a little bit. All right, let's move forward with this. All right, let's put the number on it here. It's kind of stylized the way they did it. It's kind of cursive-ish. I just kind of use that as a guide, and then we kind of fill it in. And the Russian ones always have a little tail at on the one leg. Seem to be. And the little 2 has kind of like a little wave in it. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Start about where that hatch is. So right at the split of the overhang. Okay, got it. we got 261 like this. You got 261 like this. Let's fill it in. If you were using a marker or a pen with this, it would be a lot more difficult to do different styles of numbers. I think this is a lot easier to mix them up a little bit. Yeah, we're going to take some of that color that we mixed here for cleanup and just clean up the bottom of this one a little bit. Maybe not so much. I was a little too zealous with it. Pretty good to me. Not perfect. These are a little bit more narrow than the other ones. It's fine. They're hand painted. Unless they used a stencil, probably looks better than the guy they had do it. All right. How are we doing here on this? So this one's going to end up looking like this. See, they are going to look different from each other. Actually, whatever lighting I have on it there, that's pretty close to what they look like in real life. So, a little bit of interest in each one of them. So, okay. I'm going to drop some microsol on it. F it. Let's see what happens. See if it makes it disappear a little bit. Not that it's that necessary, but not sure this one even has a smell. Sit there while we dry brush this other one. Okay. Oh, we never painted the track on this one. Damn it, man. That's what I should have done. I should have stopped what I was doing and painted this track. Damn it, man, my favorite superhero. He does fly, but he crashes a lot. Damn it, man. Oh, how moronic of me. I forgot the little red star I was going to do on the glacis plate. I didn't forget. I just remembered too late. There's a difference. Let's get this up. Come on. There we go. All right. Let's that's a small red star. A smaller one. Not the teeny tiny one. This is going to be one of those that only I know it's there kind of thing. I'm going to have to point it out to people. I don't like to hop around like this, but I really don't have much of a choice because of drying times and stuff like that. When I'm doing 15 millimeter ancients, I don't have to do that. I can just pretty much power through and do them in the order that I want to. Yeah. I almost want to put the red decals here at the bottom. But I want them to both have the same kind of interest in it. And I think that if I do that, this one's going to be more interesting because it has a white stripe on top of it. So I'm going to leave it as is. We'll have the numbers down here for the T35. The big star is down here at the bottom for this big old thing. So it actually had some parts you had to glue on here. These are already pre-made things, but there were some things that you had to glue on there. I had never done it. I'd never put them on there, and I had to find instructions online of where they went. It was not very interesting. It was not very fun doing that, including like these little the towing clevises. Okay, so while that yeah, this is drying on the front. Let's let that dry a little bit more. And let's paint the machine guns. You know, these are a little under scale, and I think at the end of the day, they'll end up being just fine. You know, they're wargaming models. Hey, I don't have a problem with it, so you shouldn't either. If I would not have bought them. Had I not had them already, I wouldn't go out and buy these. First of all, I think they're actually really expensive now. I don't know that they were more than like $7 each when I got them in 1992 or 93, something like that. The Soviet Union had just broken apart when I got them. That's what I remember. That's why they were available. It said made in Russia. And we have a shovel down here. And a pickaxe. I've been working on the gulag. Okay. This nonsense of the muffler. Book I'm reading on the Eastern Front right now talks about the back history of a Russian general by the name of Rokossovsky, who ended up being pretty successful. But he starts off before the war working for a guy who ends up getting purged. So because he was working for him, he also got sent in for questioned and got the crap beat out of him. I think to the point where they ended up replacing his teeth with metal or something like that. And he loyally he got dismissed from, he got put back in the army just before the Germans invaded, and he served loyally. But that wouldn't have been me. You do something like shit like that, accuse me of something, I will make it my life's purpose to pay your ass back. But then I wouldn't make a very good communist to begin with. But I thought that was kind of unique. He's got falsely accused and still went on to serve. I can tell you that I would not do well in that situation. All right, let's rinse that out. Let's go add a little bit of black to the end of that muffler. Do the same thing here. I'm pretty sure I didn't do that. Yep. And let's go ahead and do the tracks on here. I'm really happy with using this color as a base. I used to mix my own, and that's just a step I can eliminate. I don't give myself too many step removals or cut or corners cut, but this one works well for a base color for a old rust kind of thing. You know, because this is a rust that has gotten a lot of movement on it. Not like a muffler, it's just been sitting there. Getting orange and stuff. I'm not really a fan of reading the rules by myself and playing, because if I want to solo something, I'd almost rather just play a video game. There's something really unsatisfying about playing a game wrong, which invariably is going to happen just learning how to play the game. Do the front track so I don't forget. I'd just rather be doing something else than sit there and reading rules. All right, let's get the top up here. The side of this vehicle, I think, is going to be fairly dirty, as these tracks look like they're just going to be throwing stuff around. I'm glad I gave up with gluing these things on like a handle or something. It's just easy enough to do with your hands. And just, you don't put a lot of pressure on it, you don't scuff things up. Okay, we didn't do under the tracks there, we did do that one. Okay, so this is the nearest side, the one we're working on. Ah, interesting. This is the T2835, and this is the 1940. So I have the wrong hole on the wrong one, but the holes are exactly the same. The only difference is this one's missing a set of the road wheels. So yeah, the holes are identically the same. There's no difference in it at all. Okay, so we'll let this one percolate here, dry up. Let's go to dry brush land. I've done it. I see there's a promotion for Battle Group on here. This Plastic Soldier Company. Check 30. Look how much extra spare parts I've got on here, but for Battle Group, I guess I didn't realize that Plastic Soldier Company also created Battle Group, but I'm not really interested in playing a World War II game that has multiple figures on multiple figures on an infantry base. I've done all that stuff before. Like, I don't mind playing it. I'm not going to create shit for that. That's just not very inspiring. My infantry figures are way too cool to be doing that with them. Okay, I like the individually based folks. All right, dry brushing time. Let's flip this thing over so we can have a clear frame of mind. This is US Field Drab. These are the same colors that are on the basing scheme here, except for the base color, which is chocolate brown. We don't have any of that. It's similar to the color of the tracks. Not exactly the same, but it's similar to the color on the tracks. All right, let's take the turret off so we won't have a falling out with it. We're going to do Iraqi sand over this as well. Now, I don't like making these super dirty because then you can't even tell that it's green underneath. to this side. And we're going to put some Nuln Oil on this vent before we're done with the whole thing. But this is the real dirty part. Dustified. Dust that gets sucked in here. And yes, I have an airbrush now. I could be doing this dusting with the airbrush, but honestly I like the kind of control that I have with this and a little bit more contrast. The airbrush is going to just soften everything. And it's going to look too realistic from the standpoint that it's not going to look right at a distance to my eye. It's going to look too realistic. And so I want these things to look kind of like a graphic novel, so to speak. That's the look I'm going for. Let's put these little turrets on here. Actually, I'm not going to put them on there. I'm going to dry brush them not on there. Because when I do the other shade, I'm just going to have to take them off anyways. And then the other one. I'm going to need a little bit more of this. At some point, we're going to need to do some Soviet infantry. I got tons of Soviet guys who look really cool. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And the big turret. Let's see what this even looks like. Now let me get away from it. I was reading somewhere this is one of the first unique Soviet designed vehicles. All the other ones have been inspired by something else. Pretty much have this where we need it. Let's do the Iraqi sand now. Let's rinse this thing out. Don't want any of the old color there. Yep. Where did it show up? In the high occupancy zone. On my right hand side. Alright, let's go ahead and do the tracks first. I need more Iraqi sand out here than that. I wouldn't have bought these. I would have gotten like a Zvezda kit or something like that. But I would have had to give these away or throw them away, or they're actually selling for a lot more than they should, or they're on sale for a lot more than they should be, in my opinion, on eBay. Yeah, it's not as washed out as the color you see there. I have to take some pictures. I have to take some pictures in natural light. Now let's get these little guys. See what we got here. Yeah, that Iraqi sand is a really good contrast color. There's enough warmth in it. It's not like it's white or anything like that. Let's see if we can get this a little bit more what it really looks like. Might be closer to that. So we got some headlights to do on here. Actually, the star on the roof turned out really nice. It just faded just enough to, it looks believable. That's the whole point, is you need to make it look believable. Let's hit OK on this and minimize that. Okay. And thank you, Marcus. We'll have pictures of this up today. I forget if you're on Facebook or not, but. And I still say I am a shitty picture taker. I'll try to take it like 6 times. After that, I just give up. I'm like, I gotta move on. I got ADD to when it comes to taking pictures. I just don't have that kind of interest in sitting there for a long period of time. I'm going to not dry brush the other one yet. Let's finish this one all the way. Ooh, look at this. I didn't mix this. Look what's mixed into Iron Warrior's base, like purple. There's like some purple in there. That's, I'm telling you, these are going to be the best looking Primo ones out there. And it's not saying a whole lot, but okay. Then we should have gotten one smaller than this, because I'm going to have to, well, I don't want to use a super good one. What was I doing with this color? Oh, I was going to paint the pickaxe and the shovel. and then the wood on both. Barnes Height, welcome. Where is, I think this is it right here. Nope, it's close. It could work, but I've been pretty happy with this beige brown, how it's turned out. And I guess I should pull out the wet palette. Otherwise I gotta, this tiny little bit of paint. Let's get Mr. Beige Brown out here. This thing actually has really good detail on it. Considering what it is and how old it is, it's not bad. Okay, and now we just got headlights to do. Let's do the gnome oil wash while I'm thinking about it. Let's go ahead and do the gnome oil wash. Where's that big old bottle? There it is back here. And yes, this is 187th. Oh well. I had it. I'm going to use it. Its saving grace is it's a big vehicle. If it was not a big vehicle, it wouldn't work. I don't think any of the scenarios has more than 2 T28s, so done. Adds a little bit of depth to it. Man, there's so little. And then this thing's done. Okay, we're gonna call this one done. T28. I gotta go. I gotta go pee, and I'll be right back. And yeah, it is a little under scale, but still think it looks pretty good. Be right back, folks. Okay. So let's look at one without weathering on it. You could tell. That definitely looks like a plain piece. Better with the weathering. And it's easy to do. You know, you could certainly spend a hell of a lot more time in doing the weathering than I do. But I've been pretty consistent, and I like how these have the look that I'm shooting for. So, okay, so this one's a little bit different. We got some hand-painted numerals here on the turret. We've got some Soviet stars on the side, and one on the bottom glacis plate. So, let's pull these turrets off and commence dry brushing. Let's get null and oil out of here. It'll come back here in a second. And I got a few minutes, as I got to get ready to get a haircut in about 30 minutes. I think we can get this guy knocked out in 30 minutes. Okay. We got a wet spot there. Well, after we flat coat this, that'll all disappear. I had my first experience flat coating with the airbrush on the T34s, and that went really well. I don't miss the rattle cans at all. The poisonous rattle cans. Still here, very impressive work. Oh, I'm glad you like it. It's super easy. You just got to be methodical about it. It's super easy, but you know, they take time. Across the top there, okay. And we will this will kick up here. Now, the nice thing about airbrushing the flat coat is, man, you can go really thin and just do multiple coats. And the coats are so thin that you go to one side, turn around, by the time you get to the other one, it's already dried. So even though you're laying it on there thin, you know, it's not like you got to thin and like come back in 30 minutes or something like that. You can just keep going. Now, I don't know how durable it's going to be. That's the only thing, because it is a water base instead of like an enamel. But man, there's no bad smells or anything with it. The only smell that it has is the compressor has kind of it kind of smells a little bit when it's running. Just the oils and stuff in it. But we're doing that in the garage anyways, because although it's not super loud, I wouldn't want to do it here right now. Alright, we got to do the bottom here. This is going to get, we got tracks. And this part's going to be really filthy. Absolutely no messing about with your dry brushing. Straight on with confidence. Yeah. Yeah, well, you start on the places that are more forgiving. So, you know, you start on the running gears that, you know, if you overshoot it, I mean, I don't want to fix stuff. I could if I needed to, but you start it off down here like, ooh, that's too much. Well, I'm glad it's down here where the mud section is. You know, it's going to get another coat over it, the lighter color. All right, and then we got some that came up on the top of the vehicle. You come up with a little story of what happened there. Oh, Comrade, what's his name, had muddy boots, and then he climbed on top, and you know. Now these things actually had quite a few details, but they're still missing a lot of details. Like the T-35s had these they were like these ladders that were welded on here, like usually around here and usually around here for people to climb on and off of them. It doesn't include those. Well, I'm not gonna, you know, buy them. I mean, it's, you know, that's just how they came. It's not that important. But they got pretty good details on them. All right, so this dirt's just slinging on the side here. Goes up on this red star. Catches on the edges. Do the same thing on this side. All right, this dust is all swirling about back here. rivet detail is nice. There's lots of things to like about this. I just wish that we're in a different scale. All I got to do to make sure these keeps being useful is don't buy them in a larger scale. Don't like, hey, I need a third T7, T28. Let me make that one bigger. Yeah, then you got a problem. Then it's gonna look odd. Gonna look really, really strange. Let's look at the fronts on both of these. I think this one's muddier. Yeah, and that's fine. Okay. Now let's look at these turrets. Edge, edge, edge. We play with these things. You know, if I'm solo, I'm still gonna film it. They're gonna be some good looking games. That's what my focus is that the games look good. And these are the same colors that are on the base. So this base here has these same two highlight colors. So it ties it all in. We gotta be careful. We're going to the turret zone here. Start at the lower end of the turret where it gets dustier. Same thing on the other side. We still have another highlight color to go over it. I mean, it didn't look bad just leaving it like that, but adding another dry brush. I mean, hell, you could probably do 6 dry brush levels and it'd probably look even better, but at some point you gotta say, okay, enough. Enough talk. So I don't do all the oil washes that are chipping. It's just too much. It's too much. And you wouldn't have that in a graphic novel. The graphic novel wouldn't show that. That's why I don't put that on there. I don't want to put armpit stains and stuff like that on my figures, so. Hit these hard edges, make them stand out. Now, let's pick out some stuff with Iron Warriors. It's all the gunmetal stuff on there. Let's get the old Null oil out. I'm going to make a couple bases for these guys. I did have some other 1/87 scale stuff, but I have a few more things that everything I've kept though, I'm planning on using it, so just a plain piece. difference between the big old glossy ass thing. Glossy ass colored thing. Temperatures outside 41. Nice. 41 Fahrenheit. This might be the last cold snap we have all year. And that's really disappointing. I don't know that I did the top little piece on that one. I didn't. Aha. Now, let's add a little bit more white. Okay. I think we've got headlights to do on this thing and we're done. They're so minuscule. Let's see, anything else I'm maybe missing on here? I don't think so. Let's get rid of this. I think they look pretty good. And, you know, relatively easy to do. Now you see that little bit of a shine there on that? That's all going to disappear once we flat coat it. Now, before I quit, I'm going to go ahead and make 2 stands for them. and then goop them. See if I can get them both on one stand. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to. Actually, I hope they fit on one stand lengthwise. Man, they barely do. Man, I probably could. It's going to be kind of a tight fit, but this saved me one of these. I might just make them a little bit wider. That way they go a little bit better like the T34s. Is I can do one of these pieces that still would be okay. Jeffrey, welcome. You have a Naubar Farzug for your games of nuts. You gotta be nuts to play that game. Is that how it got named? Oh, this one's only inches? Oh, I hate inches. For stuff like this. I hate inches. Let's put that much meat on the outside, that much meat, so we need to go 1 3/4. Let's go 1 3/4 across. And let's go 1 3/4. I'm not a fan of this partitions of 1 inch. I'm a fan of whole numbers or decimal numbers. See how we're looking here. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. That a little bit better. Let's just, this isn't a super precise art thing. Let's go ahead and do the other one like this. The one used in combat was a prototype and only had steel plate instead of armor. They make like 3 of them, right? They only used it in, I think they only used it in Norway. I could be wrong. They might have used it in Poland, but Norway is what it's known for. Hey, it's a badass when you're talking about who else is up there. Panzer Is. I think that looks pretty good. There are 5, only 2 were used in combat, although 3 were used in Denmark. They were not used in combat. Well, they weren't used in Denmark for very long. It was like a 6-hour war or something like that. Went back to making butter cookies and playing with Legos. What else is Denmark known for? Butter cookies, Danishes, right? Resin model 2 dragon kits in 1/72nd or the big scale. I like resin, but man, resin's a pain to glue. And resins are better now, but man, it used to be some of them were just very toxic. They just did not smell very nice. Okay. Oh, I botched that one up. No, I didn't. I just use this side. Perfect. The film April 9th, the battle begins as a good battle sequence showing the Danish forces fighting against the initial German invasion. With those silly Danish helmets, right? Well, they probably were effective. They covered a lot of like the back of the neck and stuff. They just look, silly, but you want to look cool or survive. Bring out your Danes dong. Similar to Dutch helmets, yeah. All right, let's see what this is going to look like. It's mainly just to be able to put them on something so you could transfer on, not necessarily grabbing them by the stand. So the fact that it overhangs a little bit doesn't really bother me. Okay, let's a special bag with the stand pieces, wherever the hell it is. Yeah, let's get the goop out, and then we're done for tonight, for this morning. What I do with my goop? Here it is. Could it be any closer to me? Where's my this? Can't wait to do some North Africa vehicles and do the basing on them. We'll put little rocks on them, similar to how my 15mm Arab basing is. Ought to look really nice, but that's just going to have to wait a little bit. Okay. All this stuff away, and we'll let these dry so they can be messed with later, and we can complete the look of these. So when we come back, we're gonna spray these guys flat, so it'll look a little better, but they look equivalent to the T-34s. So I'm real happy with how they turned out. They look pretty darn good. So, okay folks, well, thanks for stopping by, and until next time, we'll see you later. And don't forget, if you want to get acrylic paint off, you can use hand sanitizer, and then it'll take it right off. You can just rub it off. So, works really well. Okay folks, until next time, see ya.